News Radio 560 KPQ. It's The Agenda, the show with no agenda whatsoever. And our guest is Donald Meseck, the regional labor economist and soothsayer for all numbers that have to do with the economy and the employed and the unemployed. So, Don, welcome back.
Thanks for asking, Mike.
It's nice to have you here. And you're back on your roll. You've got new numbers, and we've got the latest numbers since what year? Since 1990, I guess.
Well, since the numbers we're releasing now, Mike, are for May 2018. And for the most part, they're good.
You know, last time we pushed, we were sort of looking at this is the time of change. We knew it couldn't go on forever.
Well,
but this month says maybe we can go on a little further.
We have. I'm actually a little surprised that our unemployment rate has continued to fall. Our rate this May for the two-county area was 4.9%, and that's a 0.4 percentage point drop from the 5.3% unemployment rate in May of 2017. That's a 0.4 percentage point drop. Just when we thought we couldn't go any lower, we did.
That's amazing. And you know the number that I really like? The number of new jobs.
That's the other side of the coin, and that's also looking good.
How many?
Well, we have about 1,900 more non-farm jobs in the Wenatchee MSA in May of 2018 than we had in May of 2017.
And I think that's startling because I don't know if you could ask someone to come up with 2,000 new jobs for the people of Douglas and Wenatchee County, and yet it happened.
It did, and it's despite the fact that manufacturing is still pretty sluggish, we've had other industries compensate for it. We've had robust construction growth. We've had robust growth in health services, strong growth in leisure and hospitality and local government. And so in aggregate, we're up 4.2%. And when you consider the state grew at a 2.7% clip between the Mays of 17 and 18, this is really good economic news.
And it puts us right up there with King County in terms of the success rate that we have. I mean, we don't want to compare apples and oranges, but we always used to say, well, across the state, things are looking this way or that way. And now people in Seattle have to look across the state and say, my God, Wenatchee's still at it.
Well, it's also a monthly reading. And I think that it's important to remember that this is looking at May of this year versus May of last year. The two key points are the unemployment rates falling and the number of number of non-farm jobs is rising. So, and I think an interesting thing, Mike, the reason for the rate falling, it's falling for the right reason. The labor force has expanded and the number of unemployed has dropped. So you put those two together and you get a 0.4 percentage point drop between the Mays of 17 and 18. Really,
of course, anyone in economics would tell you this is the way to get past unemployment. Have more jobs. Just have the job market expand. Why don't you?
Yes,
and that's a lot harder to do than actually talk about.
It is. If we've got about 426 more residents in the labor force in May of 2018 than we had in May of 2017. So that's not a tremendously fast growth, but it's a 0.7% growth rate in the labor force. But our number of unemployed has dropped sharply. We have 195 fewer residents in the two-county area out of work. That's a 5.9% drop in the number of unemployed. So, again, labor force is rising, unemployed's dropping, and the rate dropped from 5.3 to 4.9.
It's too bad you can't measure happiness on your charts because
I know that would be.
I would just wondered, are these people so pleased to be working? Do they have jobs that they like? Has this been a turnaround in their life? Did 2,000 people just get a new lease on existence?
That's something we actually don't measure in the current population survey.
Well, let me dream.
Yeah, in the Laos data, it would be nice to know, but I think that it's. The Laos methodology is remarkably standard over all the counties in the nation and for time series. So it's very positive news right now.
Now, we always look at the indicators in terms of the groups of people. We can't all work in the medical industry. We can't all work in construction, but those people have been at the top of our leading the sectors: construction, medical,
yes,
hospitality.
Yes.
Maybe some retail.
On a percentage basis, the one industry that's really been strong has been construction. We've got a growth rate right now this May of 11.1%, 11.1% more jobs in May of 2018 than in May of 2017. And that equates to about 300 new construction jobs, roughly from 2,700 to 3,000 jobs between the Mays of 17 and 18. So on a percentage basis, construction leads the pack.
And has done now for the better part of the year.
I went back and looked at how many months has our local construction growth rate been faster than the state's. And for the last 11 months, our construction industry growth rate, job growth rate, has been faster than Washington's. And Washington's is not too shabby either. So that's really been a very strong industry from an employment perspective for virtually the last year.
How many people are we talking about in the MSA? You know, just round figures for the total population, because there's not many of us here in some regards, and I just wonder how we feel about leading the state in so many ways.
I'd actually have to dig out the population numbers, but I know in terms of total non-farm jobs, we had 46,800 non-farm jobs in the two-county area in May of 2018, and the same May 1 year prior it was 44,900. So we rose 44.9 up to 46.8, 1,900, 4.2% increase.
Were you surprised when these numbers came in and you were tooling with them?
Well, what really surprised me, I think, was the fact that the unemployment rate fell, because we had been seeing the rate plateau, kind of up and down the last couple months. I thought we'd been reaching the point of transitional unemployment where it really could not go much lower.
And what's transitional unemployment again?
It's basically accounts for the transition, the people in flux in the labor force. It's debatable on the economy, and it's debatable what that transitional number is. I think probably most economists would ballpark it's between 3 and 5%, but it's people moving from job to job. So the 4.9%, I think, for Wenatchee MSA is pushing the transitional level of unemployment. How low can it go? I don't know.
Now we really don't know, because we thought we had plateaued. We thought we evened out. And we were okay with that last month. We said, it couldn't go on forever, and now we've sort of leveled off, so don't fret, don't cry. It's okay.
So we say never look a gift horse in the mouth, and it did drop.
And I'm not even sure what that means. But
there's a history there.
Is that because to tell if you have a healthy horse, you look at the teeth?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I still don't understand.
Exactly.
So I give you the horse, and the first thing you do is check his teeth.
That's how they determine the age of the horse, I guess.
You gave me a horse that's dying. Yes, but it's a gift. Well, are the people that you report to pleased, surprised, amazed, or just gobsmacked?
I think it's not totally unexpected. We knew we've been seeing historically low unemployment rates. The difference, of course, is that in April and in March we did plateau. We had a 6.3% readings in March, the Marches of 17 and 18. So it stagnated. The rate stagnated. We saw a 0.1 percentage point rise in the rate between the Aprils of 17 and 18. But then we see this 0.4 point drop. And I think that what's happening, I think, really, Mike, is the fact that the labor market's strong. Jobs are being generated. The labor force is expanding. And what industries are looking good? I mentioned construction.
Tell me the others when we come back, okay?
Oh, okay.
That's Don Meseck. He's our regional labor economist. We're going to take a break and come back on News Radio 560 KPQ.
People get nice surprises at the Town Chrysler Family Store.
RLS Productions Concerts in the Gardens held at Omi Gardens is welcomed by JDSA Law, Lori Mooney Country Financial, Localtel, Guild Mortgage, Confluence Health, and 560 KPQ.
News Radio 560 KPQ, Michael Knight. My very special guest is Don Meseck. You know Don. He's here often. He's the regional labor economist, and we say he's the soothsayer or the intelligence officer for unemployment and unemployment. Which way you want to look at it. If you're employed, then yay. If you're unemployed, it can't go on for much longer because Don is crunching these numbers and everyone's getting a job. And that's good news. In fact, let's talk about what areas in the employment world that are leading the pack. You were just about to do that.
Yes, sir. According to our current employment statistics estimate, what we affectionately call CES, it's another acronym. I had to throw that out. There's really four industries, Mike, four non-farm industries that are looking strong. I mentioned construction. We're up 300 jobs.
That's number one.
Number one. on a percentage basis, but quantitatively, the industry that added the most, that added 400 jobs between the Mays of 2017 and 18, was health services. And private health services has been faring well. Behind that, leisure and hospitality added 200, think hotels and restaurants, and then local government. So I think that, and local government, of course, includes school districts, ports, public utility districts. It's kind of a hodgepodge, as well as police, fire, libraries. So 4 industries to recap: construction, health services, leisure and hospitality, local government are driving our local economy right now.
And the one thing that I would just love to know where all this construction is going on. Well, obviously within the counties of Chelan and Douglas, but I just wonder what they're building and why it's leading for month after month after month. It's so intense. The construction industry won't let go of number one.
Well, I don't have a breakout of where the construction jobs are, but I do get a report from Pacific Appraisals that, and I kind of use that as a barometer when I'm looking at construction trends.
What do they tell you?
Well, I think that, if they're not buying, they're not building, they used to say, and vice versa. So I think that when I looked at this, and again, this is not our data, this is from Pacific Appraisals, we see that the number of active listings has risen from 130 in May of 2017 to 145 in May of 18. That's up 11.5%. The number of single-family homes or condominiums sold in the first 5 months of this year versus last year is also up. It's 404 the first 5 months of this year, 338 last year, basically closed sales. So, and that is really not specifically for Chelan Douglas counties. It's what they term the Wenatchee market, Wenatchee, Malaga, East Wenatchee, Orondo, Rock Island. And, of course, the median sales price has also been rising of homes. That's no surprise.
That's not news.
Just about anyone in the housing market. So that's been a really solid area.
I'm curious about the medical world because if you ever go to Confluence, I call it Confluence City because it is a city unto itself right here in the middle of town. Try and get a parking spot in their lot sometime. I mean, it seems like you have a sold-out game at the World Series.
Yes, and it's
been a crowded, intense place.
It's been good. Of course, the population generally is aging. Also, I think we're capturing more medical procedures here than we did, say, 10 or 20 years ago. Things that are done here that people used to have to go outside the area for. So, but that's been that in quantitatively, if we look at this May compared to May of 17, what industry added the most jobs? It's 400 jobs in health services. There's also private ed there, which is kind of an unusual lash up, private education. And that's, but the dominant industry in that category is private health services. That's been a growth industry. And in fact, going back again, I mentioned construction has been growing faster than the state for 11 months. Health services here has been growing faster than the state for, I believe, about 12 months, at least 12 months.
I wonder if every carpenter in town has got a job right now.
Well, there's the thing about our data is we also have to remember we're looking at quantitatively. It doesn't mean that every person in every position is faring well. There's still some people, of course, that are working part-time who'd like to be working full-time. It doesn't mean there are no people unemployed. We still have that. But quantitatively, yes, the industries are looking good.
Do you get information on who's working less than 40 hours a week but is employed, or is that too intricate?
Well, we actually get in the U6 report in the state labor force data, we get breakouts in that, which is basically those people who are underutilized, those people who are looking for full-time but are working part-time. So it is one limitation of the data, but it still doesn't dissuade from a time series perspective. Our non-farm growth rate right now is looking very strong here, and hopefully it won't cool off anytime soon. But again, I do not have a crystal ball. And
no, we don't ask you for that because that's unfair. It's hard enough to come up with what really happens rather than pretending that you can figure out what might happen.
It's hard enough to quantify. You're right.
Really?
And, so I think I try to stick to that and look at analyze the current status, and it's looking good.
Now, nothing exists in a vacuum, but the counties around us are not enjoying the same sort of success. I wonder how those two exist side by side.
Well, Yakima County's looking reasonably good. I actually have to crunch a Grant County and a Kittitas County report probably within the next week. But I do know Okanagan County has been struggling a bit. When I looked at annual average unemployment rates last year, their rate was actually up over the year between calendar years 2016 and 17. But for the most part, Central Washington has been faring well. And if I look at unemployment rates, for example, in the 7 counties that I serve, just take Adams County, for example. The rate has dropped 0.2 of a point between the Mays of 17 and 18 from 5.0 to 4.8. So that's good news for Adams County.
Yes.
Grant County is actually up. The Grant County rate is up 0.5 of a point from 5.6 to 6.1. So they're kind of going through a slow patch right now.
Don, we're getting close to being out of time. I wonder if you could recap all the good news that you've been able to lay on us today.
Recap, I would say the MSAs are faring well. Yakima's unemployment rate's dropping. As I mentioned, the Wenatchee MSA's unemployment rate's dropping. The 2 MSAs here, Yakima, metropolitan statistical areas, Yakima and Wenatchee are faring well. Unemployment's down, non-farm employment's up.
And we used to talk about this as uncharted territory, which we thought we had escaped or that we had run out of good luck. But we're back in uncharted territory.
We are back, and we'll have to wait to see what the June data brings. But I would say that when we look at our May data, it's most encouraging, especially for the Wenatchee MSA.
Well, this time in the coming month of July, you'll sit in that chair once again, and we'll get to look at those numbers. And I bet you it's going to be a continuation of what we just talked about.
I sure hope so, because like weathermen, I'd rather report fair weather. I'd rather report good economic news.
Is it raining? Yes, but it's raining jobs. Okay. Don Meseck, Regional Labor Economist for the state of Washington, and our pal here in Wenatchee.